Now I'm starting. 2020's been a hell of a year, folks. We've had venues close, we've had people losing their jobs, we've had tournament series be canceled completely, we've had local venues shut down, and we've had, of course, the more recent, more disturbing revelation of very toxic and dangerous people in our own communities that have been casting various acts of sexual misconduct, sexual harassment, sexual violence, rape, I don't know my terms here, preying to minors, stalking, exploitation, all across the board. But the reason I'm giving this address is to let people know that the TOs are furious with everything going on. And we've been working almost nonstop for the last 48 hours trying to set things right for the scene. So that when we do finally open things back up, all of you can be safe and all of you can have a home. I want to tell people that it's not just me involved, it's pretty much everyone that you can think of leader wise, especially in our state of Ohio here. But the sad truth is that we have to kind of drain our own swamps first in our own cities, which is what we're working on still right now. The thing I need to remind people is please be patient with this. Unlike if we were still open during offline seasons, we'd be much quicker at getting bans and responses through. But the thing to remember is that because we're not doing those events, we now have time, and not just time to like research the accusations, because we do believe them. We do definitely do that research and stuff, but it's more about creating a structure in place so that we're not dealing with this every year, or if someone gets assaulted again, then there's a structure in place to actually help that person. I want to tell the players of the state of Ohio, whether they're in a Smash player, a Melee player, an Ultimate player, or if they play fighting games like Tekken and Street Fighter and stuff. I want you all to know that it's going to be okay after all this. Uh, we'll be back, and all your scenes will be back. They might not be back exactly the way you remember them, but they will be back. And I want you all to have hope with this. I see some people are scared, and I see some people are quitting the scenes because they can't stand the fact that their heroes on the top end have betrayed all of us. But that's not true everyone the local levels. And the fact that the scenes have changed people's lives drastically is what I think is more important here, and I mean drastically for the betterment of it. I myself am not anywhere near where I am today without brawl crews like OUGA. I know I see a lot of Columbus Ultimate players and Columbus Smash 4 players that wouldn't be in the relationships or with the friends that they have because of a child's party game. And I, as a TO, want to still provide that when everything's said and done. And we will provide that when everything is said and done. But the sad truth is, this is where we need your help to be patient, and we need your help to be more vocal now than ever, especially to leaders. Whether you do it publicly through Twitter or Discord, or you send it privately to TOs and things. If we've failed in the past, we're sorry. But this is where we're going to make things right. So remember, there's hope. Stay strong. Don't give up on us. We're not giving up on you guys. So that first part, I was more recording as a general statement representing everyone in the scene, all the TOs in the scene. This next part is going to be more about my views about everything as a personal TO person. So I'll kind of restate that again as I hit record and stuff, because I'm going to be uploading those for those who aren't going to watch right now. So this second part of the address here is more about my personal views on everything going on right now. I'm not going to get into specifics with specific people at this time because we will announce that when we are ready to announce that. I'll get into more why we're not just going to announce whether people are banned or not. Other people in Columbus and even Ohio are already doing that, and they should be, to be honest. Because I personally think the code of conduct stuff going around should be addressed at a local level and should be addressed at a cultural level, depending on which gaming scene you're in and how the leaders want to kind of handle this stuff. The thing I'm more concerned about is not that we're taking the incorrect action for the moment, but that we're taking the incorrect action years from now. Because whatever ban list or thing you're going to set in place, you have to make sure that there isn't a way it can get corrupted or manipulated down the road where we have to just restart it all over again. I think one of the main reasons the Smash code of conduct kind of failed is mostly because of not just the like there's individual flaws with the people, but I think the initial part was it just came out abrupt and not in the transparent means and didn't really. I feel like there's. I feel like the trust wasn't built, and I think that's something that Ohio TOs are going to be doing in general going forward. You've seen, you know which people you can trust and which people you can message and things. You know which people you do not trust and stuff. I think this is the time where if you don't like how things are being ran or how people are being treated in the communities, this moment is the time to do it. This is where we as TOs need you guys to be more vocal about it. Some of the examples I'm hearing from my own city, I was in utter shock about. But then I'm hearing that it's not just one incident or two incidences with a given individual, but it's up to like maybe a dozen instances. And I don't want to victim blame here, but I think there has to be that compromise of I can't help what's going on if I don't know what's going on. And I understand it's difficult and it's hard to do that, but we want to create something where we can be in that open field. The other thing I want to reiterate too is, to be frank, us TOs are not equipped to handle criminal cases. That's what's going on right here. So, going with if someone were to sexually assault someone, we can ban them, and that's what we should do as a TO. And understand it's the victim's right to want to choose when they can decide to do legal action, or if they do or not, or if they want to talk to their parents, because we're the community where their escape, where their second family or their chosen family is something as a term my sibling likes to use. It's family that you've picked. It's family that you trust and you love, and you spend hundreds, some people hundreds of hours a month with these people all the time. The thing is that I want to fix the greater problem here. I don't want to normalize. The thing I'm kind of afraid of is I don't want in like a few years, if all these states have their own code of conduct panels, or we get like a national code of conduct panel, I don't want to normalize the idea of if you're assaulted or if you're a victim of something, then instead of going through proper channels, you go through the code of conduct instead to get TOs to ban something from an event, when there are other more professional means to deal with that. And I'll get to why people don't do that, because of course there's thousands of reasons why people can't do that. Otherwise, they'd be doing that and stuff. The two biggest ones that come to mind is, one's the credibility side of it. It's especially if you're a woman coming out that have been sexually assaulted. People just aren't going to believe you. That's the sad truth. And they need to. That's something we as a community can back them up on. We can be that group that stands with our victims when they decide they need to go public with this. Another thing we don't that's is the money issue. People can't afford to do legal prosecution of their assaulters. Again, it's another thing we can stand behind them. I personally don't run events for profit, but if I ran a fundraiser tournament where 100% of the venue goes to paying for some kids' legal fees so that they can get justice and closure, we can do that. There's also other corporations, or not, I shouldn't say corporations, there's other foundations and organizations that are nonprofit that are built to help with trauma victims and built to help with assault victims and stalker victims. And one of the things us leaders in the community can do is push people to normalize those channels and other things. I want to be a TO that can do that kind of thing. I don't want to be the TO that has to worry about enforcing a ban list when the government already has a ban list for sexual offenders. And for those who think the system doesn't work in general, especially with all the police riots going on and everything, with how black Americans are being treated, the truth is that of all the systems that work insanely well, and some would even argue too well, it's definitely cases for when it comes to pedophiles and minors. And one, in some cases, things that it needs to work on is definitely with women. But I'm more mean like one of the things that is brought up is what we should do about minors and stuff. But it's like we can, like the legal police means they're insane when it comes to that, and they will find justice, and they will make sure the assaulters pay for it and stuff. But we as a scene have to like kind of normalize the idea of it's okay when you're hurt or when something happens that you don't just go home and go back to playing games. You actually like reach out to the people and stuff. So that was kind of my thoughts on that. I don't know where the other states or where the other cities and TOs stand on that exactly. It's just what I'm more worried about with the code of conduct. The beauty is right now is because we don't have local events going on, we have time. You know, if this had happened last year, where we're in the summer during major season, then we have to act quick with bans and stuff because we're suddenly putting people at risk at events they're going to. I'm not saying that risk doesn't exist now, but that risk is significantly lower because we have no other events and stuff. The thing is that we need to use this time to not be as aggressive as we urgently think we need to be, but we need to like use this time to actually come up with a stable system that works. If Ohio creates a code of conduct, and again, these are all things that I'm not sure I know the answer to, and I'm not sure if our TOs know the answer to, and I'm not sure if our community knows the answer to. If we create a code of conduct, do we need one for each? Should there be a Smash one and an FGC one? Should they be the same? Some people say one way, some say another. It all depends on what areas you're from. If you're someone who's familiar with my TOing and stuff, you might combine them. But if you're from maybe Cincy or Cleveland, you might think them as separate. And maybe that's the case. If it's too complicated, then you get slowed down by, you know, whatever bureaucratic process you put in, which you have to have one, because if you have zero process, then you run into what's happening at the major level. You get event runners who are essentially corrupted, where they know what's going on, and they're in the power to do anything, and they're on said panels that were created, and they do nothing about it. There needs to be a system in that for that, too. I'm not sure. I think we can get to there. I think we can do that. And I think that this is the only time we can ever get to it, because we're not focused on running the events for a change. We're actually focused on us as people. But we as a community have to be patient with this to the point where we can have this discussion and where we can actually come up with going on. And I see a lot of people are doing that on Twitter and things, and that's great. Another thing I kind of want to recommend doing is while Twitter and Discord and all that is great for doing that kind of information stuff, I think you need to start putting the person back into it. It's one of the reasons I did a video of this instead of a twit logger or something. Hearing the voice, seeing the face, it has impact, right? And I think we kind of need that again. Or at least when it comes to updates or community outreach and stuff, especially since we don't know when we're going back to doing offline locals. And, some people are saying maybe not even until 2022. It really all depends on how our crappy government handles the virus and stuff, however you will look at it. The other thing I want to bring up is that I guess I'll give my views on the miners situation when it comes to venuings and stuff. And this kind of will answer Crackerjack's question of would you ever consider running IDs through a sex offender registry? The beauty is, depending on the venues and stuff, you won't necessarily need to, because the again, this is one of those fields where government is actually kind of doing things right for the most part, or at least I'm seeing it in Columbus and things. Like, they are watched very heavily to the point where they cannot risk going to said places and stuff. Running IDs through the sex offender registry might not be needed based on that kind of thing. What I'm trying to get at is it's all venue based. That's what's going on here. Offenders that are extremely dangerous, they're the ones who have ankle bracelets on and crap like that. The minors being required by a parent, actually, I kind of think, again, that's, I think, going to be dependent on the venue. So if the venue is a convention center, then yes, I think they should be. If the venue is like a restaurant, then I think it's okay. If it's a bar, then definitely yes, or just banned out flat out. If it's a church, probably yes, but I think it's all venue and size proportion stuff. In my opinion, I think others in the chat might disagree, but I think a safer, if you're looking at other organizations that are running larger events, usually it's either a parental accompaniment of some sort, or there's various waivers or things that need signed, but those waivers and things that need signed are more to protect the concerts and organizations, I think. So I think it's more like, oh, sorry, someone texted me. I wasn't sure if it was work related or not. I think majors as the first step should require, if minors are going to a major or a multi-day event rather, and maybe even a cap limit thing, then yes, parental guidance is probably needed. My argument is we should be reporting offenders to law enforcement and stuff, and we're not doing that, for various reasons. But I'm trying to get at is that we need to like get into a condition where when an incident happens, it's not getting. We need to like be the leaders who stand by. We need to be the community that stands behind its victims when something happens, so that they're more likely to want to report said instances. That's like where I think we need to go, so that they can be through the system. But right now, no one wants to trust the system because of the various implications that come with it. But again, what I'm trying to argue is those implications that come with it is all things that the community can get behind and stuff. Should alcohol be banned at events? Probably yes in general. But I also, again, that's what I'm trying to more get at is that if you get to start basing things off of the venue perspective and not just a blanket thing, then you start coming up with more clear cut on what the rules should be and stuff. A major that happens in a hotel, that's at an indoor water park where minors can't go into the park on their own anyway, yeah, have a parent with them. If it's a church and it's a weekend, Saturday or Sunday night thing, probably not. If it's a movie theater, again, I think it's just all going to depend on stuff. Um, like most of my, like two of my venues ban alcohol already, so it's like already not a thing there. So, I'm trying to remember the other big point I wanted to make here. That's more on the, yeah, I think more just focusing on like the local level side of things. I'm cool. I'm glad that the states are uniting in their own way, but I almost think the state level is too large. But maybe that's because I look at Columbus more at a more complex level, because that's my goal for the last like 3 years and going forward and stuff. It's the thing again. The thing I'm kind of fearing is like we make said panel, it works out for a year, but then what happens in 2 years when we have um, we have several where people come and go, or certain things are lost over time just because you can't pass the skill set on properly, or people flat out change, or the people you thought you trust are actually not the people you trust, or we just don't have the right system in place to allow such a thing to recover and stuff. So I'm not sure. Um, you kind of need that to replace whatever code of conduct thing you're doing. I don't know how we go about doing that. That's where we have to kind of talk as a group and stuff. So it's kind of, and then I'll kind of scroll and look at some counterpoints here. Pretty much, we need to step up our accountability so that minors do not need their parents to accompany them and stuff. I'm going to address this in a broad sense because this is where kind of other people are talking about sexual harassments and stuff. Is this kind of goes back to I don't want to like shift the buck. As a tournament organizer, it was my responsibility to create an event originally, and that during that event, people get what they want and stuff. As I ran more tournaments, that evolved into becoming a scene organizer, where it's no longer about a single event, but all of my events that I'm kind of involved with. After that, it became more of I became like a city advisor type, where I'm looking over that kind of thing, and then it started to become of a state-wide thing, where if I'm not calling out a city doing something incorrect, then that's on my fault. Or if I'm not paying attention to every chat, then that's my fault. So that's all that responsibility added on. I'm not saying it's unwanted or unjust, but I'm trying to get at is all that stuff goes into what TOing is. I don't have the experience or the know-how to compensate for whatever corrupt, terrible system exists in place, like the legal system when it comes to sexual harassment and stuff. So if I can't do that system, then it's up to us to do it. I don't know. Like we can kick them out, but we're not solving the problem here. And we need to address what we can solve with the problem. I think there's other foundations and organizations that we can help redirect to. I just want to kind of like, I guess what I'm more trying to get at is whatever our scenes come up with in the next like few months and stuff to kind of work more. I don't want to say work more with the community, but I think we really need to like be careful what we're doing here so it just doesn't repeat in 2 years, or we get a repeat of what happened with the Smash Code of Conduct, uh, where it felt rushed to me and it felt like they put in what they thought was good ideas, but they didn't have the manpower or the hours or the expertise to fulfill a thing such correctly. I don't want to go and arrogantly going that we can enforce a ban across the state. I don't even know if the Columbus TOs can enforce a ban across the city. Um, and then you start adding in all the other stuff to protect minors, and then all the other stuff to do with alcohol and things. I don't. I don't know if we can do that reliably, especially if we're trying to encourage the idea that people can create events. Otherwise, you lock it down to where only a few people can run events, but then now you no longer have that diversity that we kind of had. One might argue that's what you have to get rid of. I'm not so sure about that, though. There's one other point, and I think a lot of it's going to come down to I have ideas I want to try out because the truth of the matter is that like I have major personal problems going on. Those who know me know what those are. But I want to make some suggestions that I would like to do if I had time to do it in between those said personal problems. I'll just say it now that those personal problems are large enough that if we didn't have COVID, I would not be running events until 2021 at a minimum. But I never didn't really need to announce that because COVID happened and people don't want to run events until 2021 anyway, so there's no point in doing that and stuff. I guess what my rant before was trying to summarize is when are we going to realize as TO and event organizers that we're not equipped to handle the problems that are being presented to us because we refuse to let the systems try or even find the other groups that are trying to get around said systems that aren't working? When are we going to get to that point? When are we going to start integrating that in so that you get the cascade event? You can ban people as events happen, but I want to get to the point where someone is in an incident, they can report it to the code of conduct people, but they should be reporting it to these other groups and trying to get the help through those other means to like get that going and stuff. It's that part of that broader problem and things. Um, when does that happen and stuff? Someone has said on here, we have the advantage that we are not the legal system, and frankly, being part of this community is a privilege and not a legal right. If someone makes people uncomfortable and is violating people, we can come out completely. The only reason I disagree with that is because all of our events are public. Anyone can enter, as long as you pay to enter. Being part of the community comes after the fact, but as long as we're doing public events, that's not completely true. Especially if they're events like that can allow spectators and other things to get in and things. If you start gating those said communities, then you run into, I don't want to say killing our scenes, but people want the scenes to grow. Um, this sad truth is like our scenes have gotten big enough that we are at the point where we can do all the weed whacking that's going on with all the terrible people in the scenes and stuff. I used to joke that a scene got large enough when you got like your first person who was toxic at an event because you finally hit that statistic, because that's just what happens in every organization period and stuff. um, and the sad right so the suggestion I was going to make that I think the community can help with is if, and I don't even know if this is really what I want to happen because I'm just kind of like talking out on my keister at the moment because I've kind of gotten off everything I wanted to say. Um, Actually, since that is part of my address there, I will end that part there. Pretty much the stuff I wanted on YouTube was more to be inspirational stuff of what's going on and my thoughts. Q&A, I guess I could kind of do a little separate and things, but I think the thing is, it's more about, I don't even know what we're struggling with, to be honest, because it's like it seems Ohio's in a consensus that we're okay getting a big ban list, essentially. And then every time we, um, find another person, we add it to the list. And then we share that list with everyone in the state. And then from there, Michigan can look at our list or vice versa if we're worried about that kind of stuff when there is cross travel when this happens, though. The and that's probably I guess I almost want to say it's like that's our best solution we can come up with. I just don't know if it's our best solution, and I think this is the time we can really like work on that stuff. I don't know how we can get to that, and so that's maybe where the community can help in that kind of things that are not of the leaders inside stuff. So one of the things I kind of toyed around doing, talking with Soul, was maybe doing like people are already doing suggestions in Twitter and stuff, but I think it's more about like the voice and more of like trying to get morale back into the scenes as well. Doing like a town hall, like I saw some of the police reforms do and stuff. Various TO leaders get on a Discord of some sort or a Zoom. I don't know. I don't know which tech you all would want to use. The point is that we have that, and then members from the scene use that period to voice what they don't like about the scene and what changes they want to see out of us TOs, what they want to actually see happen. Do they are they cool with TOs just making big ban lists? How they feel about minors, how they feel about alcohol. Should there be a FGC code of conduct and a Smash code of conduct for the same state and city? Should we be rallying together towards a national one? All that kind of stuff. Like I would want to hear those opinions, and more importantly, give weight to those opinions instead of it being a Discord chat or a Twitter reply. Um, Tip lines is something that a lot of other people are working on, which, again, any community member that can help make said tip lines, that'd be great for us to do. It's not that the TOs can't do it, but it's more of, to put in perspective, I was up till probably 4 a.m. this morning catching up on tweets and messages and mentions. Well, not mentions, because no one mentions me. They message instead. I'm not that big of a celebrity here, folks. And then throughout work, I probably had enough to do 2 to 3 hours worth, which honestly I've not gone through all of it and stuff. Um, but pretty much suggestions on what the scene wants and suggestions on what we can kind of do that's going to be stronger than a ban list, I guess. That's going to be stronger than just a nameless panel or what they don't like about the other panels that have happened and stuff. I think that's kind of what we need more help with at this point. And just having that talk, even if you're not a TO, and having that talk just because, or you are an online warrior, and just, kind of like, uh, not necessarily being the organizer, but at least facilitating the talks and talking to your TOs about it and stuff like that, too. I think that's kind of all I have to say. Um, Again, I wasn't going to mention anything specific because I am waiting to do that with the said groups I'm dealing with. I can just tell you that there's problems in the city. You guys have maybe read about them, but I'm not using this time to announce I'm trying to be more general about it. I think it's. I also think that prematurely quitting the scene because of all allegations is kind of a bad move. Like if you're quitting the scene because of other things going on, or the virus maybe did it, but you got to remember at the end of the day, it's like to some people the scene's all they have, or it's like important to them to their core and things. If you start leaving, then you have the people that need the scene stuck with the people that are abusive to the scene, and we no longer have that buffer. I don't want to like try to shame people and like leaving if they think they had to. I just keep seeing a lot of people think that they leave because they should, and I'm trying to tell them that it should be the opposite away from a moral approach, that kind of thing. So I think we're gonna, I think I'm gonna end this. So I kind of want to more get off the thing. We can continue discussions when I upload this to YouTube and whatever Twitter things and Facebook things I shared with. But yes, thanks for listening. Yeah, it is hard, and we do need each other and stuff. Yeah, I wasn't, and then the compy, I wasn't trying to say I was like blaming you for like leaving or something in the middle of all of this. It's more directed at a lot of other people saying like I'm quitting competitive Smash because of what Cinepe said or did or something like that when they've maybe never met him or something. I don't know. And it's a little different for TOs leaving the scene because typically the reason they're leaving is because they just can't continue the work. I remember the other point I was trying to make is like, so if the responsibility of the TO is to not only maintain a ban list within a city, as well as maintain communications with the other cities, that we're all doing the same thing, and it's part of a TO to be the confidant to when assault victims happen, and it's the TO's responsibility to enforce said things. I'm trying to think like at which point, if a TO can't do that responsibility, should they be TOing anymore? If all those are becoming mandatory, and then there's going to be more layers added to that as things become more complicated and we start trying to leave things to ourselves instead of reaching out to again the other orgs that exist out there that can help us with this stuff. Whether it's legal programs that are actually good or not, the point is they exist out there. We don't know them because we don't try to find them because we're trying to do things ourselves because we are that privileged community. And then the problem is that if we have the community come up with, say, a safety team, it's where's the volunteers for that coming in? Because to be fair, and I again don't think it's necessarily the gaming community's fault on that, but when it comes to volunteers, we suck at it. Uh, if I'm volunteering, it's going to be for an event I'm running, or I'm already volunteering for those set events. But then when you're looking at the ratio of stuff, tournaments and events need tons of volunteers, and they rarely get the amount they need. Um, so then now you're asking for more to do a safety team. And again, if it's a volunteer position, then how good is the safety team? Because another thing I'm worried about is if you're going to do, I kind of had this problem with bag checks back during the Madden shootout. I don't know the exact term, so I apologize if that name has offended and stuff. Is uh, like when is the quality going to slip just because you have it and stuff? Like again, we have people that are untrained in doing this, and the only way we're getting them is volunteers to do it. If we're going to have them get paid for it, then that means higher venue and stuff, and then you're now gatekeeping people because of the cost and stuff. And then when you start involving money in it, then you start involving more corruption on the top end, which is what's happening with Evo and things. So I don't know if that's a real answer, and I think it's something we need to look at and stuff. Um, and the problem is that while ideally you don't want to get big buddies with certain players, the unfortunate truth is that if I were to pay a top player to come to a Kakato event, it would get triple the attendance because that's how the community responds to that. It's one of the reasons Cost has done so well is because they actually do put in the time to fly in the celebrity players that players want to see and meet and stuff and become that special moment. It's another reason why a lot of people go to majors too, because they can meet the guys they see on stream or even have a unique chance to play against them and stuff. And so then you get TOs that kind of make that bond and that almost biased relationship, not knowing what they're up against and stuff. And it's just what you said, Lama. It's like, right, hope folks, pretty much we all need to get educated on this. It just comes down to like, where does that responsibility lie is all I'm trying to say on that. So, anyways, I've got to go. Thank you for tuning in, folks. I'll upload the 3 segments I just did. People can continue the conversation, whatever threads I posted on. I more made those because I had so many people responding to me with stuff and they wanted to know my views. It was easier to make a video and stuff. It also seems so many people were down that I wanted to speak up as a leader to say, hey, it's not. There's people working on this. We're angry too, and we're going to make it right. And we are going to make it right. It's going to take time, and it's going to be very difficult. It hasn't been done before. Hopefully, it'll never need it done again. And that's about it. I might stream Hearthstone later, which some people might think is unethical, but the truth is I kind of want to continue doing some of the things I'm at least trying to do to like compensate for what's going on and stuff. So, as you said, The change needs to come from inside the community as a whole. Shouldn't be just on a TO. It needs to be a whole change in the culture. Well said. Everyone has to step up, and we can do it. Thank you, guys. And